My name's John Allison from Logical Tech. I'm here with Carl Bennett, our practice leader in mobile applications for Fieldforce. And we're focused, Carl, on the people. How do we keep them productive and safe and they're able to manage their field activities, reduce error rates and so on. The context for this, of course, is that organisations that we've talked to, and there are many, one of their key issues is their team safety, their staff safety. So how does FieldTracker address that?
John, it's an important question. Most organisations have their own policies and procedures and things they wish staff to adhere to. Part of that's safety related, part of it, as I said, is compliance and policy related. And it's different for everybody. Everyone has their own variation. And an important part of the application is making sure that operates the way the customer wants it to operate. But equally importantly is the ability to know what's happening in the field, know where your staff are, know where they're going next. So you've got some sort of plan. This is not Big Brother stuff. This is not knowing exactly what they do.
We're not spying on them.
No, we're not spying on them, but we want to know when and where they were when they're doing a particular job, and really sort of point-to-point type things. You've traversed several sites today. We know you've gone from A to B to C to D, and we know where you've yet to go.
So
That's important.
It tracks you doing that and
Correct.
Uses the GPS locator, and you've got maps that the supervisors can see and so on.
That's right. Every time you use the application to record information, it's basically date time stamping it with a location so that that's happening in real time if you have communications. If you don't, it's offline. Okay. But nonetheless, that information is always being recorded, and when you can send it up to your back-end cloud service, it's there and it's available for your management staff to review and inspect in real time. There's none of this waiting at the end of the month or end of the week process. It happens straight away.
Great. So some of those enterprises we've talked to have a very high priority on OH&S safety. So how do we weave that into the FieldTracker applications that would be on the iPhone to make it easy for field staff?
Typically, John, that's in several parts. There's usually a component before you start. So it's a preparation you undertake before you actually leave on a field trip. And a field trip could be a matter of hours or days, depends on the type of work you're doing. But invariably it means checking off that you have the right training, the right gear, you've made the right phone calls to the right people you need to get involved before you go on the road. So the worst thing that can happen is you get on the road and you've forgotten something, that your particular set of tasks requires particular instruments. You want to make sure that's sorted out before you go. You want to make sure your OH&S policy and compliance is all being completed and recorded. That's before you go. When you're on the road and you're visiting a site, equally important is making sure that the staff are aware of any hazards that may already be in an existing site, or can report new hazards or issues as they arise in the field so they can be dealt with later on.
So is that all in the app? So they don't need lots of checklists and
Absolutely,
spreadsheets,
John.
And all the stuff? It's all there, is it? Yep.
It is indeed. Many of our clients will take folders of information where they need to fill this stuff out in the field with a pen, take this paper within the field, which can get wet and dusty and destroyed, take it back to the office and file it in filing cabinets, and then years later try and find this stuff. This could be all integrated into the app, so it's integrated as part of your workflow, as part of getting the task done. It's not separate to the task, it's part of the task.
Okay. So hence, the advantages in productivity. It's all there and it's one step and checklists and so on.
You truly are getting closer to removing the paper from this process so that you're just using the smart device, the phone or the tablet, to actually capture this in one shot. Absolutely, John.
Great. What about the planning for that? Who does it? Is it the field staff on demand, or is it the supervisor? What's involved in doing the planning for where I go to tomorrow as a field service staff member?
That's a good question, and it's an interesting one. It will vary for every organisation. Some organisations, in fact, I've got several clients that do it either extreme. One client wants to have this planned well in advance, so that they're actually planning weeks and months in advance at exactly what's going to be happening in each field trip, so that when their staff go out there, they don't have to think where I'm going, what I'm doing. The application's already got that organised for them, so they know you go to these sites and you do these tasks. That's not to say they can't do additional tasks or vary it, they can, but it's pretty much managed in advance. Now that's one extreme, but equally we have other clients that want the flexibility of their field staff to be able to pretty much control the things that they want to do on a day-to-day basis. because that's what the customer wants, what the client wants. So you can do it either way.
Great, great. And finally, in this segment, in talking to some of the field staff, one of their worries is, I forgot to do something while I was out on site, or I didn't realise the measurement I'd take was wrong because the instrument wasn't working at the time. And of course, going back and repeating that is very costly for an organisation.
Absolutely.
So, how do you get rid of those issues for field staff? And does a field tracker system like this deal with that?
That's a very important question, particularly when you've got sites that are far-fetched, like in our case locally here in Australia, in Victoria. You've got customers who go out in the far northwest of Victoria into places that are quite remote and many hundreds of kilometres to get there. Forgetting something and having to go back is not a small task. It's a big impediment, time, cost and dollars for travel. So the way we address that is through the application. We make sure that the application is aware of all the things that you need to do at that site, so you don't forget. You tick them off, you make sure you complete them. But more so, John, that we preload the application with as much information, rules and past data as we can about that particular site, so that when you come to capture the information, perform the task, we can apply all that as validation rules, we can graph it, we can put tables there, we can point out anomalies or strange things so that the person using it can see firsthand, the app's telling me this looks a little bit odd, I should perhaps check this before I go any further.
Yeah.
You do indeed.
Okay. And that can be all, whether I've got reception or not, it's all part of the app.
Absolutely. That's a key thing, John, is that you cannot rely on having communications the whole time you're out in the field. You're always going to find black spots. So the app needs to continuously work with your online or offline. Doesn't matter.
Thanks, Carl. It's very important to not only make field staff productive, but to also give them the tools, and this is an amazing tool really, to be with them as they go, to make sure life is easier and gets done once, and once well, gets done well. Carl is known as the man with gumboots. When he's designing these with you, give him a call and talk to Carl or the rest of the team who understand this industry very, very well, to see what applications might give you early and good returns. Thanks.
Thanks, John.